You are watching Profiles After Show, episode 12, and this week we are talking about none other than Wes Anderson. I'm sure you have heard his name quite recently. He's been nominated for a lot of awards for his latest movie, The Grand Budapest Hotel. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I want to introduce all my panelists. We have a big show this week. I mean, we get 2 people for Tim Burton. We got 6 people for Wes Anderson. But the more the merrier. I love talking about movies, no matter who it is, what it is, or whatever. Starting with Rachel, and then we're going to go Mark, Liam, Steve, and Kahal. That's how we're going to go. Everybody introduce themselves.
Hey Profilers, this is Rachel. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited to talk about Wes Anderson. He's getting a lot of well-deserved recognition right now, and he's got a lot of fun movies to talk about. So let's do this.
Hi, this is Mark Tordoy, a longtime Profiler fan, and very happy to be joining the after show. Thank you guys for inviting me.
Yeah, it's Liam Legrandi. I'm a big profile as well. I'm a regular on the show, so I'm really excited to talk about Wes Anderson because I've rewatched all of his movies for it. I'm very excited.
What's up? This is Justin Bass, and I'm just happy this has happened, to be honest with you. I didn't think they would do it. So, talk about it.
Hey, this is Kahal Thomas Coleman. I've done a few of these now, and my favourite Wes Anderson movie is The Life Aquatic with Justin Bass.
You got us with a good one there, Kahal. You got us with a good one. All right, everybody who watches Profiles, we know what we do. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on everybody's first blood, and just like we did with Rachel, starting with Rachel, we're going to go and do everybody's first blood and ending with me. Rachel, what is your first blood of Wes Anderson?
My first blood was Royal Tenenbaums. I was in college, and when we were talking about Christopher Nolan, I spoke about Memento, and Royal Tenenbaums holds a similar place in my heart. I was in film school, and we all went to this in the theater, and it just blew us away because it showed us a modern filmmaker trying to do something different, to tell a story in a different way, and I absolutely fell in love with the chapter-like storytelling. The acting across the board is unbelievable, and it just, again, opened my eyes to what kinds of different filmmakers there were out there, and modern filmmakers. So I've loved it. It's my favorite ever since that first viewing. So Royal Tenenbaums is my first blood.
All right. Mark,
Yeah, mine also was Royal Tenenbaums. I was probably also in college at the time. I think the movie came out in the early 2000s, right? So around 2001 or 2, and I remember watching it on video, renting it after it come out in theaters, and I actually didn't like it very much because, as I've said, actually really wasn't until I saw Grand Budapest until I actually liked Wes Anderson movies. But I have had an opportunity to go back and watch Royal Tenenbaums and all his other films, and I really appreciate it, and I really do enjoy it now. At the time, I guess I just didn't understand. I didn't understand Wes Anderson's style of filmmaking and sort of his quirk, but as I watched it again, I was really, I really paid attention to the performances, and I really paid attention to how it was shot, and I just fell in love after that. So I do know that was my first one, even though, again, I didn't really like it. I'm glad to say that my opinion has changed.
Liam?
My first blood's a bit weird because I'm the youngest one here. So my first blood was Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is a bit weird. I saw it in theaters when I was like 9 or something. Like, it was a long time ago. I had an option between seeing that or Alvin and the Chipmunks 2. I obviously took the good choice out of that. So I remember it being a lot of fun and stuff like that. Was before I really started to appreciate movies now. So I haven't seen it a little bit, but it's just, I remember it being great animated film for Wes Anderson stuff. I really liked the style when I first saw it. So yeah, that's my first blood.
Steve?
I really can't believe you missed out on the Squeakle in theaters, man. Rush. I was in high school, rented it on VHS from a movie store. I mean, you probably don't know what that is. It was my first experience with Wes Anderson. I didn't know Wes Anderson. I watched it. Very similar to Mark. Wasn't impressed the first time. I was expecting a very zany, very sad.
You're breaking up a little bit, Steve. Can you fix that a little bit for us?
I'll do what I can do, brother. Can you hear me any better?
Yeah.
Okay. Rushmore was my first blood in high school, and just like Mark, I really didn't get it the first time. I rented it because I was expecting a zany Bill Murray movie, and I was not really impressed with my first viewing with Rushmore. But all that changed.
Cahal?
Yeah, same with Steve. Same with Steve. Mine was Rushmore as well. I was in high school at the time, and yeah, that was my first time. I think I appreciate it more now than I did back then. Same with Royal Tenenbaums. Like, go back and watch it now, you can see this like story structure, the quirky characters, the use of music, and yeah, that's mine, Rushmore.
And I'm going to agree with Mark and Rachel. Mine was Royal Tenenbaums. I hadn't really heard of Wes Anderson before Royal Tenenbaums, but that year Royal Tenenbaums had beginning, I don't know, 2002, 2000, something like that. I can't remember exactly when it came out, but it had beginning a lot of Oscar buzz and about a lot of buzz around the performances. When I saw it, I was just like, wow, is this one of the most dysfunctional families I had ever seen in my entire life? And at the time, I'm a huge Gene Hackman fan. There's a lot that goes into why I'm a Gene Hackman fan. And I just was like, wow, he reminds me of my father in the movie and in real life, and it was kind of an odd thing. But we'll get into Royal Tenenbaums a little bit more afterwards. But first, we're going to go Alicia and Scott's Fast Five, number 5, and theirs was Darjeeling Limited. Now, what we do is we look at the film that's number 5 or 4 or 3 on Alicia and Scott, and we go down and where that falls on our panelist lists. And so, as a suggestion from earlier, we're going to start this time with Cahal, and then Steve, then Liam, then Mark, and then Rachel, and then me. So, Cahal, where did Darjeeling Limited fall on your Fast 5 or on your honorable mentions?
It's on my honorable mentions. It almost pushed for 5. It's probably at 6. I thought about that and Moonrise Kingdom. I was trying to weigh up which one to go with, but I watched Moonrise Kingdom again and I just went with that one instead. But I really like the Darjeeling Limited, as is like the Wes Anderson style. It's a definite memorable film of his. But yeah, it has that production design, the look and everything, and the quirky characters as usual. Just didn't make it this time for me.
It's actually on my number 5 too. It was the first Wes Anderson film I ever got to see in theaters. Living in Tennessee, until recently, Grand Budapest was about the very first one that you could actually go see without having to drive forever. I think it played in 2 theaters in the whole state. Anyways, I really loved the relationship between the brothers, and it felt very real. It wasn't sappy like a lot of stories like that. You felt for them, and I never quite understood why their mother abandoned them, and just a lot of the issues they went through. It's a really great movie, especially if you've got brothers or whoever dealt with the loss. It really hits home. That's a movie I can watch and listen to.
All right, Liam.
Darjeeling Limited's on my honorable mentions, but I think it's one of those Wes Anderson movies that I kind of reflect on. Like, I liked it the first time I saw it, but then when I started thinking about it more, I appreciated what it is. It probably has my favorite start and end to any Wes Anderson movie, and it's still a good movie. I mean, apart from the middle, I think was amazing as all of his other stuff, but I love his slow motion shots. So I'll talk about that in the right stuff. But I thought there was good chemistry between Owen Wilson and Jason Schwartzman and Adrian Brody. It was a lot of fun to watch, and the train is really good. It's good set design, like it's good production quality. The film does itself, and yeah, I mean, it's probably his most serious movie in a way. I know a lot of people probably criticize for that reason, maybe because, but yeah, it's a great movie. In my opinion, but yeah, it's just in my honorable mentions.
Mark?
Yeah, honorable mentions. Didn't make my top 5. I did enjoy it very much. I really did like the cinematography. I love the setting. I did love the interaction between the characters, between the brothers, but just didn't make the 5 for me, unfortunately.
Rachel?
Yeah, it didn't make my Fast Five either. I was really hoping to rewatch before we had the after show because, Scott on the show said that on rewatching it, he ended up liking it that much better. But to be honest, when I saw it in the theaters back in '07, I think it was, I walked out feeling really disappointed by it. I thought it was a lot of style over substance. I did not relate to the characters like I had in previous movies of his. I mean, the acting was good, but it didn't sink to another level in terms of emotionally connecting for me at the time. I did love the short at the top, Hotel Chevalier, but yeah, I remember walking out just generally being disappointed by it. But I'm certainly open to seeing it again, especially as Scott said, and I've heard other people say that it sort of grows on you, or you go at it with a different point of view or reference when you see it a second time. So here's hoping.
I also do not have the Darjeeling Limited on my Fast Five. I don't know. I just didn't like it that much as much as other Wes Anderson films. But taking a little bit from each one of what you guys said, it was a beautiful shot movie. It definitely had a family element to it. I think I know it's kind of crazy, but they talked about in some of their one of their note segments on Profile, Scott and Alicia did, that my favorite part was when Bill Murray, you see him run into the train with his baggage, and then you see Adrian Brody run past him. And then they're all like, holy crap, we're not going to make the train, so they drop their bags. And then you see Bill Murray standing on the side of the train station because he missed the train because he couldn't catch it. And then you see him at the end of the movie, he's on the train. So to me, that was the best part of the movie. And everything in between I didn't really like that much. So, all right, so with that, we are going to go to Scott and Alicia's Right Stuff. Now, Scott and Alicia had obviously what I just said. I just gave hers away. Bill Murray running on the train, overtaken by Adrian Brody, misses the train, and then they drop their baggage. I guess that's some symbolism with the Darjeeling Limited. And of course, Scott had Sam and Susie tell each other they love each other on the beach in a place they called Moonrise Kingdom. I'm going to start with Rachel this time. Rachel, what is your right stuff?
So my right stuff is from Rushmore. I often like to pick scenes, or I really enjoy scenes that introduce characters because I feel like that can be very telling as to whether it's going to be a good movie or a bad movie or good filmmaking or bad filmmaking, how you introduce a character and get somebody hooked. And I think the opening scene with Max in Rushmore is brilliant because you don't realize it, but you're watching a dream. You're watching a scene in a math class and a teacher asking a student to solve this unsolvable problem. He walks up to the board and he's calm, cool, and collected. He's holding a cup of tea. He solves the problem, and all the fellow classmates are cheering him like he's some kind of sports hero. And then there's this flash cut to him sitting in a church assembly with his head back and asleep, and you can see his braces and his hair's not quite as perfect, and then you go back to the dream and you cut back again and he wakes up and he's in real life. And so you see this character as he wants to be seen, but then you see him as he really is, because as the assembly goes on, Bill Murray's Bloom is giving a speech, a rather strange speech, and then Max is the only one to stand up and clap. So it's sort of a juxtaposition between the dream world and Max's real world, and I was hooked. I just thought, like, this is a character I want to know more about. So that's my right stuff.
Mark.
Mine is from Grand Budapest, and it is when Willem Dafoe is chasing Jeff Goldblum throughout the city, and he's chasing him, trying to catch up to Jeff Goldblum, who of course plays the lawyer. And it's the scene when he does catch up to him, and he kills him by taking the door, sliding the door, cutting off his fingers, and that scene for me, again, not going into that movie not being a Wes Anderson fan, one of the reasons I kind of never really liked Wes Anderson was because I thought that he was too quirky and too light in his movies. And that one scene really set a very dark tone that I was not expecting. Of course, you kind of suspect he's going to kill Jeff Goldblum, the way that the whole sequence is put together. But when he actually does it, I don't know about you guys, but I was pretty shocked. I didn't realize it would go that far. They would go that far, and it was although off screen. I mean, part of that scene is pretty gruesome, but it's also very intense, very suspenseful, and that certainly is my right stuff. I just felt that in that scene, Wes Anderson really shifted that film from what I had thought he did in the past to sort of this new tone that Grand Budapest take, and I really like that scene.
Liam.
All right. My right stuff would probably be the same as Alicia's, the start of the Darjeeling Limited, but I'm just not gonna keep it the same. So I'll go with the end heist in Bottle Rocket. The end heist with Owen Wilson, Luke Will, when they're all dressed up in the yellow bag suits and everything goes terribly wrong. Because I mean, at that point in the movie, you're kind of rooting for the brothers to do this heist successfully because they've had their ups and downs and stuff, and then when it just goes terribly wrong, I think it's quite enjoyable, that scene when it just goes, just nothing goes according to plan, like a lot of heist movies do, and just the way Wes Anderson executed that scene though was different to a lot of heist scenarios I've seen before. So I really appreciated that movie scene quite a bit. So I'll go with the final heist scene in Bottle Rocket.
Steve?
My right stuff is the end of Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, where they're all in the submarine after, for a lot of the same reasons Mark said, the whole movie was very Wes Anderson, stylish shot and the quirkiness, and then it just takes that drastic turn as they have that helicopter crash, and then dies in the performance by Bill Murray after Ned died, and Angelica Houston, and she's sitting in the bottom of the Belafonte in the observatory deck watching Ned's body being buried at sea, and that beacon goes off, they all come together and go find the jaguar shark, and once they finally see him, instead of killing him, they starts crying, and he's like, I wonder if he would let the shark live.
We figured you'd pick that something from Life Aquatic, but all right, Cahal, it's your turn.
Yeah, mine's from the Royal Tenenbaums, the attempted suicide scene with Luke Wilson. I just find it's just that thing about Wes Anderson movies is you've got the humor and then there's like the really dark sort of tragic elements as well. And this one had like I think it was an Elliott Smith song playing over, and it's just him talking to looking at the mirror and saying, I'm going to kill myself and all this stuff, and he shaves his head, and it's just like it's kind of weird. That thing going through like his psyche of just like, I don't know, like trying to shed some weight. And then you've got the Bill Murray's little lab rat kid, intern or whatever. He discovers him, and then there's that rush to the hospital kind of thing, just to top it off. But it's just like really, it just stays with you, that scene.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna pick something similar to Scott and Alicia, Scott, because I cannot say enough about Moonrise Kingdom. So I'm going to pick Sam and Susie. Finally get away from everybody and have a picnic. Not the one that not the campsite and everything that they did on the beach, but they end up like in this big pasture somewhere, and Sam sets up this nice romantic picnic for Susie, and of course all hell breaks loose after that. But yeah, finally these two kids who love each other, or they really really like each other, finally get some time to spend alone. So that's what mine is from Moonrise Kingdom. Okay, now we're going to go back to the Fast Five, and Alicia and Scott's Fast Five number 4. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of talk about this one, the Royal Tenenbaums, and you know, ironically enough, we're going to start with Cahal, and he just mentioned it, so I'm sure he's got a lot to say. What do you got to say, Cahal?
It's at my number 2 on my Fast Five, and I didn't really love it at first. Like, I kind of enjoyed it, but I didn't really appreciate it till like later. And I've watched it last week again, and it just holds up so well. It's just very Wes Anderson. It has that whole family dynamic of like there's the comedic stuff and the really dramatic and sort of the tragic elements as well, and just like how Gene Hackman's trying to buy his way back in almost, like with favor with his family, like lying and everything like that, and trying to connect with his like grandsons as well that he's never like really met. And it has that, this trademark structure of, like the chapter sort of structure almost that Wes Anderson sort of has. And then there's there's Alec Baldwin, I think, narrating it. Yeah. That kind of like, it's like a weird kind of almost documentary feel. And yeah, it has the awesome cinematography and production design as usual, and just a brilliant cast of characters. Love it.
Steve, where does the Royal Tenenbaums fall on your Fast Five?
And there again, it falls at number 4. It's a movie, much like Rushmore. The first time I watched it, I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite have the palate and the love for film that I've grown on. And it's one of those like, wow, it's got everybody in Hollywood to get it. I just didn't quite get it the first time. And I think a lot of that is due to how dark and depressing it is. When you really think about it, it's a really, really, really dark film. I mean, starting off with the divorce and pretty much Royal Tenenbaum telling the kids it's their fault they're getting divorced, and Chaz losing his wife in the wreck, Owen Wilson having a drug problem, Margot and Richie getting in love, Richie trying to commit suicide, Margot doesn't love Bill Murray's character, and then the dog dies at the end. It's not as depressing as a movie can be, but it's one of those, the second time I watched it, I really laughed a lot when I learned not to take it so seriously. It's that second viewing is when I fell in love with Wes Anderson. I love the Royal Tenenbaums. Also love the soundtrack to it. Also, it's got a lot of great performances. I think it's one of Paltrow's best performances ever.
Mark?
Yeah, Royal is number 2 for me. Again, being my first blood. Sort of similar to what Captain said. Like it was like I didn't get it the first time. I really did not get it 10 years ago when I saw it. But I do enjoy Royal Tenenbaums. It is my second favorite Wes Anderson movie, just because as I get older, there are lots of movies that you have to watch again to appreciate. And the subject matter in Royal Tenenbaums is just very adult, and it's a lot about family and things that you kind of grow into as you get older. So just for me, I connected a lot with that family element that I didn't as a teenager, or I didn't when I was in my 20s. But I also really loved Ben Stiller in that film. He's amazing. It's like probably his best role, maybe on par with like Permanent Midnight as an actual actor. and it's too bad he's not doing stuff like that because he's excellent. And I also really love Danny Glover in the film. You don't see him in too many movies, but he was great. I mean, he was really funny. Really, when he needed to be, he was, there and everything. And I just really liked his character quite a bit. So yeah, definitely number 2. Definitely enjoyed the film as I get older, and yeah.
Rachel.
Royal Tenenbaums is my number 1. I loved it the first time I saw it, and I've loved it even more every subsequent viewing. I think Anderson works best when he finds that balance between the sort of dark subject matter, but he's Wes Anderson, so there's always that light touch and that quirky touch that keeps it from becoming maudlin, but almost in a weird way, because he's so quirky and uber realistic, there's actually a lot of realism in that movie. And I pick up more on that on more recent viewings than I did the first time. But I love the storytelling, I love the chapters, I love the voiceover, and I usually hate voiceover, but in this case I really think it works. There's not a weak link in that cast. Mark, I could not agree with you more about Ben Stiller. I find him to be pretty much a one-note actor, but when I saw him in this, I want him to do more things like this. He is so uptight and closed off because of everything that happened to him, but it's all based on fear, and Ben Stiller plays that, and I just buy into it. And I buy into all the characters, and that ultimately is why I love this movie so much. I get it, I relate, I feel for them, and I'm with them the whole way. But it's still Wes Anderson, it's still quirky, the music's top-notch, that montage scene with Royal and his grandsons is so fun and funny. I just really can't say much more about it, so obviously it's my number 1.
Wow, that's fantastic, Rachel. You kind of threw me for a loop there with that. Somebody we skipped over by accident is Mr. Liam. Where does Royal Tenenbaums fall in your top 5?
Royal Tenenbaums is my number 1 as well.
Yeah.
It's probably the most relatable Wes Anderson film to me, because I don't really say this a lot. Some on my mother or dad's side doesn't really matter. The family may not be the best. There might be some problems. There are the problems between each other. I know someone in my family that's very similar to Ben Stiller, who's my auntie, very similar to characters. I know different genre, but I just thought if I found it was definitely his most heart-touching story, and it's probably his most funniest film as well. I mean, the cast is great. Gene Hackman, it was like one of his last roles since he retired acting, and he probably gives one of his best performances, which is quite strange because he's always been known for playing like those tough characters, and he was pretty emotional that scene. He got me that movie. He got me pretty choked up sometimes, like, because he really did feel sorry for him, even though he was a big douchebag. But he faking his death, trying to fake it that he's gonna die, so he gets his family together. But yeah, and everyone's great. Danny Glover's last good role. You just don't really see him doing that much anymore. You guys are so. I actually like Ben Stiller a bit in comedies. He'd be hit or miss for me, but I really did. I think his best role was in Royal Tenenbaums, and yeah, you guys have pretty much said everything. I don't really want to go on, but it's definitely my favorite Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, when we have this many people, we're going to say a lot of the same things, but I just want everybody. I'm going to reiterate what a lot of these guys said. Ben Stiller, I mean, I'm not a big fan. If you know me, you know me. When we talk about movies, I'm not a big Ben Stiller fan. And I really did honestly like Ben Stiller in this movie. It was like he was the only guy in the whole movie that you're like, this is the only guy that has a life and has things together. And every one of these other people are all crazy and weird and wacky and out to left field. But the movie holds up, in my opinion, because of Gene Hackman. If Gene Hackman doesn't give one of his best roles of his entire lifetime, this movie falls flat, because you buy this movie by the performance of Gene Hackman as Royal. And like I said before, I have a lot of family issues. I have brothers and sisters, and I felt like my brothers and sisters were, a lot better than me, and they got a lot more. The family liked them a lot, and so forth and whatnot. So, in having the kids have such big, like talents, like a tennis player or be smart or whatever. These kids had all these abilities, and I didn't have any abilities, except, I love movies, but whatever. But Royal reminded me a lot of my dad, kind of not the nicest guy in the world, not the best dad in the world. So I really related to the Royal Tenenbaums a lot, and it reminded me of my personal dysfunctional family. And I have Royal Tenenbaums at number 5 on my Fast 5. Very, very good movie. I really like this movie a lot. Steve, go ahead. Steve, go ahead. What were you saying?
While we're on the subject, I got a good did you know. It's kind of a two-parter here. First of all, more well known is Wes Anderson actually met with Gene Hackman after Rush. He wanted to write the part for him, and Gene Hackman was totally against it, told him absolutely not. Wes Anderson wrote it for him anyway and got him to come on and do it. And he was extremely, extremely difficult to work with. He gave Wes a very hard time, such in fact that Bill Murray was on set nearly every single day, so he had hardly any shoes.
Wow, that's interesting. That is definitely an interesting note that I did not know. Well, Gene Hackman didn't do many movies after that, so I can understand where he could, in his older age, he became more difficult to work with. All right, we're going to go to our players, and we're going to start with Rachel and go right down the line. Don't just do a bunch of players. Just try to concentrate on one or two at the most.
Yeah, that's particularly hard for Wes Anderson movies. I'm sure we all struggled with it, and hopefully we won't repeat too much. But I think across the board, he has a lot of sort of anti-hero-ish protagonists. Like we were just talking about Royal Tenenbaums. They're not really likable people, but these actors elevate it. And I think an amazing example of that is Jason Schwartzman as Max Fisher. I mean, he's kind of a little shit. I mean, he's doing all of these things, and he's in his own world and in his own head, and he sort of doesn't care about anybody else, and he's always right. And it's ridiculous that he thinks he can have a relationship with Miss Bloom, and the lies he tells, and you just kind of want to shake him. But you also get it as a 15-year-old kid, and there's so much going on in his life and things that he wants to be going on in his life. So I just think that Jason Schwartzman sold that so much, and for a first role, that's incredible. And he's the reason the movie works, and not to mention his chemistry with Bill Murray is amazing. Forget Olivia Williams. I mean, the two of them are great together. So it's just a testament to him, a testament to Wes Anderson being one of his early roles, and bringing out the likable aspects of largely dislikable characters, and he does that throughout his movies, really.
Mark?
Mine is Gustav H. from Grand Budapest, because without Ray Fiennes' performance, without that character, that movie I don't think would have been any good. It did have a good ensemble cast, of course. All the minor players were there. They did well. You just mentioned Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Tilda Swinton. I mean, there's such a fantastic cast, but what it comes down to is it comes down to Ray Fiennes, and the role was written for him, and he delivered. I think probably his best performance, at least since The Constant Gardener, which was whenever that was, mid-2000s, late 2000s, but it's an incredible film. He's such an incredible actor, and I don't know, just he has that strange relationship with the madam, and it's hysterical. He is so funny, and I don't really remember him doing, like, I just can't recall at the moment if he ever really did comedy like that in his career. If he did, maybe, but I sort of can't recall at this moment. But just for certain, he's my favorite Wes Anderson character, just because that movie was just so amazing to me personally.
Liam?
My favorite character, I don't know if it's cheating or not, but it's Sue George from Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. I was going to put that out there. He did the soundtrack for the movie, but he also appears in the movie. Like, I don't know if this is cheating, if you consider it cheating, guys. Are you okay with me talking about Sue George?
Oh, no. Of course, he's in the movie. He does a song in the movie, so he's a character in the movie. You can have that character.
if I'm a big David Bowie fan, I know a lot of people know I'm a Beatles fan, but I'm also a David Bowie fan. So if you can do a great job of covering David Bowie songs like Rebel Rebel, Life on Mars, Space Oddity, you know you're doing the right thing. So yeah, I love Stu Georges when he appears because he just, I don't know, just he adds so much to the movie. The soundtrack is something that I really remember from Life Aquatic a lot. So yeah, he's my favorite Wes Anderson character.
Okay, Steve or Justin or whatever you want me to call you. I mean, I don't think it's like we're not getting sent any the $1 million question on who wants to be a millionaire here. I think we all know.
Well, I'm on the platform to talk about someone else. Obviously, I love Steve Zissou. And did you know, Tim, that Sal George, his English isn't good enough to translate word for word those David Bowie songs. So if you were to actually translate those songs, most of the lyrics would be completely different from David Bowie songs themselves. Because he just had lived a lot of that in wiser. I'm gonna go with Klaus. I laugh my ass off every time something comes out of his mouth in that movie. It's the greatest performance ever by William Dafoe. It's very short. He doesn't have a lot of lines, but that was one of the first times you ever seen William Dafoe do comedy, and that just stuck with me more than anything. The first time I seen that movie, just how hilarious he was in it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That was a good pick on you on your part, Steve. Carl, go ahead.
Oh, well, I narrowed it down to three, like Max Fisher, Royal Tenenbaum, and Steve Zissou, but I'll go with Royal Tenenbaum. He just made me laugh, that dude. This is hilarious. You know, just him and his pal Pagoda. He stabbed him. It cracks me up every time. I don't know. Takes the kids shoplifting and go-karting and do like a dog fight. It's just ridiculous, but you just laugh at it. And it's him trying to repair his family life and just win favor back into the family. And he's kind of like Luke Wilson's probably Richie Tenenbaum's sort of first one to really sort of embrace him almost. The rest sort of, it takes a while to really to win them over, but yeah, I just thought he was a brilliant character. It just made me laugh, and yeah, that was it.
When the kids at the first, when he's telling them they're getting a divorce, and the kids are like, "Is it our fault?" He's like, "No, don't be ridiculous." Well, having kids does add some strain to a marriage. It's every time.
All right. Well, I mean, everybody picked somebody different, which I really enjoyed that, and I think everybody knew who I was going to pick, so they didn't pick mine. And I have to go with Sam and Susie from Moonrise Kingdom. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because we'll talk more about Moonrise Kingdom later, but those are my players. Okay, now we're going to go back to Alicia and Scott's Fast Five, and wouldn't you know it, their Fast Five number 3 is Moonrise Kingdom. So, starting off with Cahal, what do you think of this wonderful movie? Cahal, where does it fall in your Fast Five?
Yeah, I watched it again last week, and I just really enjoyed it more than the second time. I just love the look of it, and it falls on number 5. It just pushed out Darjeeling Limited for me, but I just thought it was like an excellent mix of characters again. I really liked Ed Norton as sort of like he's kind of like, he seems like a weak sort of scout leader, but then he sort of saves the troop leader like later on as well, which kind of like redeems him a bit. And then you've got like the nice interplay between Sam and Bruce Willis's character. He sort of adopts him later on. There's like when he's sleeping in his house, there's like a conversation there, like where you can kind of really empathize with him. And yeah, I just really like the whole like, it was the 60s, wasn't it? It was set, I think.
Where?
Is that right? It was in the 60s. It was set, yeah, the time period.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole look of it as well, like, you know, the lighthouse and everything like that, and what can I say? The rivalry between the other scouts and Sam. And yeah, I just enjoy the humor and drama of it all.
Steve, where does this movie fall in your Fast Five?
It's not in my Fast Five. I won't stay long on it. One of my favorite things about Wes Anderson movies is seeing him work with new actors. So getting to see him work with Edward Norton and Bruce Willis in this movie was hilarious. That's always my favorite thing. And Jiminy Cricket, he flew the coop. Yeah, that's what he said. Jiminy Cricket, he flew the coop. Ed Norton just cracked me up, and so did Bruce Willis. But no, it didn't make my Fast Five.
Naughty, 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 Steve. All right, Liam.
It is in my Fast Five at number 5. I know Daniel. I think it's a great movie. I got it on Blu-ray last year and I watched it for the first time. I just rewatched it recently. It's probably. I think what's really weird. I know Steve kind of said this, but Wes Anderson kind of gets obscure performances out of people. So seeing Bruce Willis in that movie, considering what time his career was in, I don't know how he got in that movie. Seriously, if you look at Bruce Willis's career, he's just doing all these terrible direct-to-DVD action movies, and all of a sudden he just does Moonrise Kingdom, and he's great in it. And I just don't know what happens to him. But yeah, Edward Norton was really good as a scout, the grid leader. Sorry, and yeah, it was enjoyable. It's on my favorite. Like, I didn't think it was an amazing movie. I mean, good thing about Wes Anderson is production probably gets better and better because it's more advanced technology. So he gets to make his films look more beautiful. So yeah, it was really noticeable, this color palettes and stuff in the movie, and the cinematography was really noticeable in this movie. It's like it standed out from a lot of his other movies. So that's my number 5.
Mark.
Unfortunately, this is my least favorite of Wes Anderson films. Is Moonrise. Still a really good movie. Not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. Just for me, the hardest one to connect to. The hardest one that I just felt I didn't connect with any of the characters in almost any way, which is kind of sad, I guess. I don't know. But I love Bruce Willis, and the only thing I would say, just one quick thing to Liam's point, was 1 year before this he did Looper, which I consider a masterpiece. So he had done some pretty good movies, and certainly that was probably his best within, like, maybe let's say the past 10 years before that. So yeah, I love Bruce Willis. I did like Ed Norton. He was great in the movie. Just as I was watching it, for whatever reason, I couldn't connect to the characters. So just my personal least favorite.
Rachel, where does this gem fall on your Fast Five?
I think I fall more on your side, Dan. I loved Moonrise Kingdom. I actually didn't see it in the theaters because I was a little fed up with Wes Anderson at that point. I didn't like Darjeeling Limited. I'm not a big fan of Fantastic Mr. Fox, and The Life Aquatic falls somewhere in the middle for me. So his last 3 films at that point I wasn't all that happy with, and so I didn't see it in the theater. And then everybody started coming out of the woodwork and how great Moonrise Kingdom is, how great it is. So I ended up renting it about 6 to 7 months later, and was so relieved to see that I felt like he was back, for me personally. Everybody relates to each of his movies in different ways, obviously, but I felt that there was more to grab onto with the characters. I thought that the story was simpler and therefore stronger. I loved the idea of showing this sort of kind of quirky young love juxtaposed against the love triangle with Bruce Willis, Bill Murray, and Frances McDormand, and how it was kind of jaded, and how, you know, how marriage and love can get to that point. I mean, they're sleeping in separate beds, and then you have these 2 kids exploring love for the first time, and I thought the whole story and the whole look and everything about it was just whimsical and beautiful. I want to go to that island. I want to hike and camp there. It's gorgeous. I agree with whoever said like that his cinematography just gets better and better. Obviously, we'll talk about Grand Budapest Hotel, but I thought it was brilliant in this movie. Edward Norton killed me in this movie. I loved him so much as this like earnest khaki scout leader. And the 2 kids, what finds? I mean, they were both just. I just connected, and I just really loved the performances from start to finish. So this made me happy to be a Wes Anderson fan again, this movie. So it's my number 3.
Wow, those are great words, Rachel. Yeah, I think it's no surprise, kind of gave the cat out of the bag here on this one. But Moonrise Kingdom is my number 1 Wes Anderson film. I think everybody that knows me knows how much I love this film. Rachel sure did say a lot about it. I just cannot say enough about how just wonderful and heartfelt and warm the story of these two kids are. And then when you add such great character actors as Frances McDormand, Bill Murray, Tilda Swinton, Bob Balaban, Bruce Willis, Edward Norton, and you wrap it around this whole, even Jason Schwartzman's in it. You wrap it around this whole hurricane thing that's going on, and it really is. I think it's set off the coast of Rhode Island or something like that, or Maine or something like that. I can't remember exactly where, but yeah, New England has those kinds of picturesque places towards the coast. You know, Rhode Island and Cape Cod and Maine and those places. So wherever Wes Anderson filmed this film, he picked a beautiful place, and there's a lot of them off the coast of New England just like this. Yeah, Sam and Susie, what an amazing find. I mean, once again, Wes Anderson takes a character and puts them at the center of a great story, and then everything else falls into place around the characters, whether it be Max Fish and Rushmore, or Gustav H. and Grand Budapest. But Sam and Susie, if you can't love these kids, if you can't fall in love with their story and their little bit of a youthful romance and so forth, then this movie falls flat out on its face. But guess what? I love those characters. I love the kids. I loved everything about this movie. I think it's a phenomenal movie. That's why Moonrise Kingdom is at my #1 spot on my Fast Five. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to go down the group, and we're going to ask anybody if they have any trivia or if they have anything they want to say about any movie that Wes Anderson directed. You know, keep it to a couple. We don't want to go down a whole list of things that you might have written down or whatever, where you got off the internet. So starting with Rachel, got any interesting tidbits for us?
Unfortunately, I didn't have quite enough time to look up too much. I don't actually know very much about Wes Anderson, to be honest, so I'll be curious to see what you guys dug up.
Mark?
Same thing. Other than some of the filming locations in Grand Budapest, I have to, but that even then, I don't think I have anything of, excitement or anything like that to say anything unique. So I'll pass.
Liam.
All right, I've got. I don't know if you guys know this, but Martin Scorsese's a big fan. I think they mentioned this on Profiles. I'm pretty sure. About him being a big fan of Wes Anderson. He even claimed that Wes Anderson will be the next Martin Scorsese, which is pretty crazy. I don't know if you said something like that. And Wes Anderson's favorite film is Rosemary's Baby, the 1968 one. So yeah, those are 2 facts.
All right, Steve or Justin, you got any? I'm sure you got a few that you want to share.
A couple. I'll start off with did you know that his brother Eric Chase Anderson is actually all the drawings, all the movies from the drawings, and the notebooks and Bottle Rocket to the drawing, Rushmore drawing on the wall in the house that Richie did. Because drawing film like Aquatic, every single film. The second one, I'll tell you what, I'll start it off with a trivia question, and I can turn it into a Did You Know? Who co-wrote The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou and Anderson? Was it A, Owen Wilson, B, Noah Baumbach, or C, Roman Coppola?
Noah Baumbach, I think, isn't it?
Okay, I told him JT eat that.
Noah Baumbach.
Is that him? Yeah. It was him, wasn't it?
Noah Baumbach, very good director. I definitely say you need to check out The Squid and the Whale. Awesome movie.
Agree.
Which Wes Anderson actually produced.
Oh, okay.
Not surprising.
I think he made Greenberg as well, didn't he? And
And Greenberg.
Going off that, the reason I agree those are his three writing partners besides Jason Schwartzman. He co-wrote the Darjeeling Limited. His first three films, I want to say Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, and Royal Tenenbaums, he co-wrote with Wilson. And then Bachman, or whatever his name is, he want to say he co-wrote Aquatic with. And I think Roman Coppola he has wrote the rest of his films with.
Yeah, I always, that's one thing you got to remember. And I'm a writer, and I know Rachel's a writer, and if you have good writing, and if it starts with the script, if you have a good script, things start falling into place after that, Steve. So that's good. That's good trivia there. Carl, you got anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hold on. 'Cause Steve wants to say something.
Do you know how he met Edwin Wilson?
In college.
At school, wasn't it? Yeah, college. Yeah.
Okay.
Haven't they been childhood
Yeah,
friends?
sorry, I got a big book here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wait, hey, Steve, weren't they childhood friends, Wilsons? Or no?
I don't know if they're childhood friends. Maybe in high school they took a lot of the same thespian classes together, and they both went to the University of Texas and were dorm mates.
Okay.
I've got another fact. I'll just wait after Cafell just in case he takes it. I'll just wait.
He's got a coffee table Wes Anderson book, I think.
Jealous, Steve.
Carl, go ahead. Come on.
Yeah, I don't really have any trivia per se, but yeah, I got this book last year for my birthday from my sister, but it's got a lot of awesome imagery in here, but I've looked through it a lot, and there's a lot of like images he sort of takes from like Francois Truffaut's like 400 Blows, which I still haven't seen, but there's a lot of like similar like shots. And I was looking through here, and there's a shot from Fantastic Mr. Fox that resembles Last of the Mohicans. So he like draws from a lot of different places. Yeah. I can hold it up. I don't know if you guys can see it, but
Just put it up and then slowly keep it up there, and then we'll be able to see it.
you see it?
Yeah. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff like that in here.
That is crazy. Okay, I'm gonna take some notes that I wrote down here. So I got a little bit more than you guys do because I've been rewatched profiles to get some of these notes. The Scorsese thing that Liam said, once again, Wes Anderson's a special talent, rare gem. I love his distinct style. You know you're watching a Wes Anderson movie when you're watching a Wes Anderson movie. You just know it. That's from Scorsese. Best animated, he was nominated for 3 Oscars, 2 for writing and 1 for Best Animated Feature, which it's weird that Scott said that had won. The Fantastic Mr. Fox had won the Best Animated Feature, because I had talked to some guys a little while ago, maybe a week or a month ago or something, and some friends of mine said that he hadn't won the Best Animated Feature, but
He lost to
I
Up.
don't think he did.
He lost to Up.
that's what I thought, and that was kind of odd that Scott would get something wrong like that, you know.
He's losing his touch.
He's gonna remind me now.
Bottle Rocket was a short film that turned into his first full-length feature, obviously with Owen and Luke Wilson. Natalie Portman was in that short before Darjeeling Limited. I think it was black and white even. It was like this hotel
No,
thing.
it's color.
That was a goal.
Was it in color? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, this little short before Darjeeling Limited.
Chevalier.
I got 1,800 people auditioned for the role of Max Fisher in Rushmore that Jason Schwartzman got, and Liam, I'm gonna do a shout out to Liam here. Liam actually gave the trivia question answer away that Jude Law was Jude. Hey Jude was
Hey
the
Jude.
song. Hey Jude was the song playing in Royal Tenenbaums that Scott was going to ask the trivia question. That Liam spoiled the answer by saying Hey Jude. And Alicia ends up reading the answer. And then I'm going to talk about this one after our next movie. I got a couple more notes, but I want to talk about them after we talk about our next Fast Five.
I just got one more fact thing. You know how in
go
Royal
ahead.
Tenenbaums, how Ben Still's character was shot by Royal with the BB gun, and how he's got the BB still in his finger?
Yeah,
That's actually Owen. That's not Luke Wilson, the other Wilson, not Owen. That was the other one. He was in Bottle
Andrew.
Rocket, and Andrew Wilson's hand. And Owen Wilson as a kid shot him with a BB gun. The exact same thing happened. So it's actually his hand, Andrew Wilson's hand, in that scene.
Yeah, Alicia and Scott talked about that. Alicia and Scott talked about that on the show, Liam, and they said the guy still got
Oh,
the BB.
damn. I'm so sorry.
No, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm just.
I thought I read that somewhere.
Yeah,
Wow, sorry.
yeah. It's alright. It's not a big
think
deal. I just was letting you know that they did talk about that. Okay, number 2 on Alicia and Scott's Fast Five, and I think we know what number 2 is, and it's the Grand Budapest Hotel. And we're gonna start with Rachel this time. I'm sure everybody's got a lot to say about this one. Let's go, Rachel. Go ahead.
All right, so the Grand Budapest Hotel for me is at number 4. It is his most ambitious movie. It's his tightest movie. This is where he's taken everything he's done thus far and put it all into one film, but he's narrowed it down. He's figured out all the fine touch details to make everything work, from the look of it to the feel to the colors to the acting, and it's a really sprawling story. It's a story within a story within a story, and could go wrong really easily. You could get lost, but he got such a tight grip on it, and there's not an extraneous detail. It all makes perfect sense. The emotional beats are there, the plot beats are there. It's funny, it's moving, it's frightening, like Mark talked about. I couldn't believe the scene with the door in the hands. I was like, those aren't really fingers, but they absolutely were. And it's just, he just took everything that he's so good at it and nailed it to the wall with this one. The only reason I can say that it's at number 4 for me is just maybe on an emotional level, I sort of relate a little bit more to some of his other movies, but this is a work of masterpiece. Like, there's so many great ideas, and the aspect ratios for the different time periods is brilliant. I mean, we all know that one of his signature things is symmetry in his shots. Like, it's always just so breathtakingly gorgeous. A whole new level with that in all the shots of the Budapest itself. The lobby, the main courtrooms, the bathhouse, like, it's just so beautiful to watch. And I can imagine that your coffee table book, Cahal, must be amazing, just because Anderson knows how to do still images in a film form, and this is his best to date in that respect. Acting great, Ray Fiennes, deserving all the accolades, and good on you, Wes Anderson, for finally getting a Best Director nom for this, because he definitely deserves it. So, my number 4.
Mark.
Yeah, my number 1, which, again, I'm going to just repeat myself again, but it is the movie that made me into a Wes Anderson fan. I didn't like him at all, and I watched Grand Budapest, and I thought to myself, I'm laughing in this movie. There's so much suspense in this movie. There's a thriller element to this movie. And again, I was laughing out loud in so many different areas. And any director that can throw all those different aspects of a film at me, plus the fact that he uses miniatures, as Rachel just said, the aspect ratios, the cinematography, which I even laughed when Willem Dafoe hopped on his motorcycle, and it was just such a cheesy background, but it was just so funny. Like, there's just these little tiny things that are just hilarious, and that's what Wes Anderson does. He gives you like little tiny things, little Easter eggs in the background, subtleties, and I mean, really, there's not one frame of the film I don't like. There's not one character that I don't want to be there. I just was completely floored when I watched that movie for the first time, which was back in April, and it's one of those movies that I've seen at least 3 or 4 times after now, and I want to literally watch it tonight. It's just such an amazing film through and through that for me it just has to be number 1. And yeah, there's really nothing more I can add. It's just because we know it's just such a great movie.
Liam?
Yeah, this is probably this is probably my least favorite Wes Anderson film. I know I'm in the minority about that. I don't hate the movie. I thought it was good. I think it was just in the particular time I saw it. I don't think I was that great in like myself what was going on. So I don't know if that detracted from the experience, but it definitely is the best looking Wes Anderson film visually. Like, cinematography is incredible. The set designs are great. The poster is amazing. It's probably my favorite Wes Anderson poster, the Grand Budapest one. But I don't know. I like the acting and the humor didn't really make me laugh that much, and I didn't really like the story. I don't want to go and like bash this movie. I definitely want to give it a second chance. I've been really considering watching it again soon. So don't really take my opinion as like fully like it's my definitive opinion about that movie, because I'll probably check it out once more and then I'll just tell you guys if I love it or still not a big fan of it. So yeah, it's my least favorite Wes Anderson movie.
Steve, what do you think about Grand Budapest Hotel? Where does it
Yeah,
lie?
I'm with Mark. It's my number one. It's hilarious every time Ralph Fiennes is on the screen. I just died laughing. I still do every single time I watch it. I think it's his greatest performance, and everybody said everything that needs to be said about the cinematography. The one thing I thought was really neat in it is how they changed the aspect of the film depending on what time period is happening. Every time it's Gustav, it's always in what I call full frame, and then it always cuts to the wide screen every time it's Jude Law and Zero talking. I thought that was brilliant. I just love Ralph Fiennes' manner and the whole second act where he's in prison is one of the greatest comedy things I've ever seen in my life. And Adrian Brody, he's like the Clive of that movie. What small time he has, he's just so disgusting and despicable and wrong and hilarious. I just love that entire film. And not to mention the painting he changes when he takes away from Apple and puts that raunchy painting on the wall. Just everything about it. It was one of the reasons I like it is the reason Rachel is TV. But I think that's what I'm really like it because all of his other movies, I get so emotionally invested. I'm trying not to cry half the time I'm watching them because they're so sad and depressing and dark. And this one, it has those overtones too, but the humor takes center stage, and Ralph Fiennes does such a good job with that. It's the most fun I had, and I didn't have to be watching to laugh at it because I was half crying about the dog dying or the kids dying or whatever. I was happy. So, yeah, there you go, Steve. These are my number one Grand Budapest Hotel.
Kahal, what do you got to say about this movie?
For me, it's my number 4, but that could change. It could go up. I think it's a Ralph Fiennes, one of the best performances he's done in a while. Like, he's an amazing actor, but this is such a different role for him, and he really carried the movie brilliantly. The humor and the actual dramatic sort of stuff as well. There's a lot of tragic element to this as well, like considering like the sort of time period. And it's just a wacky movie that, like the ski chase and the prison escape, all that sort of stuff just makes me laugh. And him like sort of sucking up to Tilda Swinton as well, just sort of, and the relationship there, it's hilarious. And the relationship with Zero. And then I think I like how the older narrator, like Tom Wilkinson, just little things like his grandkids like shooting him with like pellet gun or whatever it was, little things like that, just just make me laugh. There's a good balance of comedy and drama and everything. I love it.
Yeah, I have Grand Budapest Hotel at number 2 on my Fast 5, and you guys have really hit the nail on the head. This movie has it all. It has great acting. It has great cinematography. It has a caper scene. It has action scenes. It has comedy. It has everything. But once again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. At the center of this movie is Ralph Fiennes' performance as Gustav H. If he doesn't give probably top 2 or 3 performances of his career in this movie, you don't buy any of this other craziness that's going on. And then the other thing is the cast. What an amazing, eclectic, crazy cast. I mean, and I have some notes about Grand Budapest Hotel. The Grand Budapest Hotel has been nominated for Best Ensemble Cast for the Screen Actors Guild Awards. It has been nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. It won the Best Comedy or Musical Golden Globe. But the thing about the ensemble cast that I think is just amazing, it's the largest ensemble cast nomination in the history of the Screen Actors Guild Awards. 17 actors will get a Screen Actors Guild Award if that movie wins Best Ensemble Cast. To me, it's a no-brainer. They're going to give that award to that movie. It's not about best movie. It's about best cast. And I feel of any movie I've seen all year long that the Grand Budapest Hotel has clearly, by far, the best cast. I mean, you can go down the list. I could go down the whole list but I could be here all day going down this list but people that really stood out, obviously, an unknown as Zero, Saoirse Ronan, Willem Dafoe, Adrian Brody. I mean, some of these people are just fantastic in this movie. And, of course, once again, virtually in disguise, Tilda Swinton. You don't know it's her hardly, but she's the old lady that dies at the beginning. Spoilers, I'm sorry if you haven't seen Grand Budapest Hotel and you're watching this, go out and see this movie right now. Stop watching this show and go see Grand Budapest Hotel. Sky and Alicia said it made $163 million. That's the largest box office for a Wes Anderson film. I saw it probably 10 months ago, back in March, and I got the DVD back in August, and I watched all of Wes Anderson's films. So it was the movie that really, besides Moonrise Kingdom, that really got me rejuvenated to watch Wes Anderson once again. Okay, now.
Hey Dan, may I ask something before we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
I'm really interested to hear what y'all say. And I'll start to give the example. What's your favorite laugh out loud moment? You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be the right stuff. For example, like in The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, when Jeff Goldblum rescued Steve Zissou. Those pirates, those son of bitches, those mustaches too. What's your thought? Shit out of them. Steve Zissou, beer, Bloom, and Rushmore, his two red-headed kids that keep knocking the door on him every time he tries to. He just has those classic. I was wondering if anybody on top of his head had their favorite laugh out loud.
All right, Cahal, what's your favorite laugh out loud moment in one of Wes Anderson's films?
Probably the pagoda stabbing Royal. He stabbed me, you know. Always gets me every time. It's just, that guy was really fun. He was in Rushmore as well, wasn't he? The guy that played pagoda.
Yes.
He's the best player ever, man. Just that guy's fun.
Liam, what do you got?
I'd probably go with the pirate attack scene from Steve Zissou when Bill Murray just becomes an action stuff, like, you know. That's because like the least thing you'd expect from Bill Murray to do is go around shooting around. I couldn't stop laughing at it, just how ridiculous it was. So that's where my laugh out loud moment.
Mark, what do you got? Laugh out loud moment.
Laugh out loud moment in the train car with Ray Fiennes and Zero as the fictional army comes in and asks them for the papers, and Ray Fiennes just yells, and I have the quote here: "You filthy goddamn pockmarked fascist a-hole, take your hands off my lobby boy." I love it. The funniest
I'm
thing.
laughing right now. Rachel, what do you got for us?
I would probably say the montage in Royal Tenenbaums with Royal and his grandsons. Like, it starts off innocently enough with, like, you know, kind of antagonizing cabs or running away and whatnot, but as soon as they start the dog fighting and the various things, that it just progressively gets more and more ridiculous, but more and more funny.
Down by the schoolyard playing that
Yeah,
Yeah.
Paul Simon.
All right, one at a time.
Sorry.
Steve, what were you saying?
I was just adding to Rachel, me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard by Paul Simon's playing during that entire montage. I can never hear that song without thinking about that scene.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Steve. That song just is so such a resonant when it comes to Royal Tannenbaum. Well, I kind of got two laugh out my when all the campers are, you know, they had caught Sam. The scouts had caught Sam, and then they have them all at the campground, and he somehow gets away, but he gets away just in time before this flood comes and just wipes all the nasty, bad camper guys who he didn't get along with or picked on him. Even I think one of the head camper guys, I can't remember which one. I should know this, but they all get washed away in this flood. And the one, it's in the trailer. I mean, everybody's seen it. But when Edward Norton comes and he says, okay, the old lady has been killed, and Ray Fine goes, and you think I did it, and he runs away. I just laugh. I laugh every time. I laugh every time I see that. He's like, and you think I did it? He starts running away. So I'm laughing thinking about it right now. Go ahead.
Right.
What'd you say, Steve?
Have you ever been interrogated by the authority before?
Oh,
I don't want to give away my private life too much, but yes.
Mouth shut.
What'd you say?
You know the drill.
Yeah. You're innocent until proven guilty, and you run away. You're right. All right. Okay. I know everybody's got a different Fast Five, and that means some of you have different movies in your honorable mention. Just
Do
real
we do
quick.
top one, or are we? I'm sorry, Dan. Are we doing this before we do number one?
Yeah, we haven't done number one yet. We're doing this before we do number one. We're going to leave the suspension of number one for last, and we're going to I'm going to go down. Everybody give us one honorable mention that you'd like to say a few words about, and we're starting with Rachel this time.
So I have The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou at my number 5. I think of his middle films, it's my favorite. It's a little uneven for me. I think it kind of gets off to a slow start, and I think the pirate scenes are just bizarre. But Bill Murray holds the whole thing together, and I actually think his relationship with Owen Wilson is really great. And the movie actually becomes deceptively an emotional movie, especially that scene that Justin talked about in the sub when they're seeing the jaguar shark. I'm like, I was close to being in tears at that scene because the whole movie he's been dealing with all this loss and changes in his life, and is this or isn't this his son, and the loss of his best friend and everything. And to have that sort of almost cathartic moment, it's not actually very typical of Wes Anderson to sort of go that emotional, but I really liked it at that point. So while I had maybe some issues with the movie as it was going on, the cumulative effect was actually one of the more emotional movies for me. And there's just a lot of fun performances. And I also, the other thing I like about the movie is the commentary about making documentaries. And I work in reality TV, so there's this kind of line that gets fudged is what's real, what's produced, and he's often talking about, you know, how to make it entertaining and put the camera here, did you catch that? And it's supposed to be documentary, you're supposed to just shoot and get what you get, but it's also produced a little bit, so I found that kind of a little tongue-in-cheek, aimed at the industry a bit. So Life Aquatic is my number 5.
Mark, what do you got for us?
For honorable mentions, yeah, even though I sort of just mentioned it earlier as my least favorite Wes Anderson film, which was Moonrise, which didn't make my top five, there's still a quality to that film that I still like, even though as I mentioned, didn't really connect to the main characters. I really do like the whimsicalness and the kind of like young love aspect of it. I think that it was really well done in that regard. I just unfortunately, between the two main characters, I don't know why, I just couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't connect with them, but really well made film, really well acted film, and yeah, I really don't know what else to say other than that. Other than it's kind of a shame that I put it at my last of all his films. I think it's one I have to definitely rewatch because there are extremely good qualities in that movie.
Liam, you got any honorable mention or something we haven't mentioned yet?
Yes. Alright, well, yeah, Rachel mentioned Steve Zissou, which is my number 3. I won't talk about that again. I'll talk about Bottle Rocket. That's actually my number 4. I know it's his first movie. I know a lot of people are mixed on it, but I'm kind of a sucker for heist movies personally. So just seeing a Wes Anderson heist movie is actually a really interesting concept to me because it wasn't the first one I saw. So like, wow, his style fitting into a heist movie, and it actually worked really well. And I like the relationship between Luke Wilson and Owen Wilson, and James Caan as well. Wes Anderson always gets some really weird performances out of actors, and James Caan in his small role was so it was so different to anything he's ever done. He was pretty funny in that movie as well. So yeah, Bottle Rocket is an honorable mention.
Steve.
I guess I'll take the opportunity because Moonrise Kingdom wasn't in my Fast Five. My number 2 is The Life of Steve Zissou. I'm not going to get on it. Everything has been touched about it. I think it's probably his best. I'm not saying it's his best movie. His comedic timing, and it's one of his most quotable films. I think I talked when we talked about my honorable mention. Scott and Alicia's Fast Five is my number 2.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree with Liam about Bottle Rocket. I haven't seen it in many years, but I'll have to revisit it. I remember just the relationship between the two Wilson brothers and the girl Inez, I think her name was. Is that right, Liam?
I can't.
But
Inez,
between Luke and her, that was pretty cool. I haven't seen it in many years, but that's an honourable mention for me. And I haven't seen Fantastic Mr. Fox in a while as well, so I can't really comment on that. And I say like Darjeeling Limited was my number 6, so I'd say that's probably the real honourable mention. Yeah, like Steve said, I really enjoy Life Aquatic as well, so that's number 3 on my list. So I do enjoy that one.
All right. Well, I have at number 4 on my list, I believe, The Fantastic Mr. Fox. I'm a sucker for a good animated movie, but there's so many bad animated movies out there. This is a movie that takes puppetry and stop motion and puts them together, and probably an amazing cast and a caper film, and it's based on an actual book that actually was written by Roald Dahl. You put all that together, what a great mix for an animated feature. You know, everybody's going with the computer animation nowadays, and to do a stop-motion puppetry using animals and so forth, wow, what an interesting concept. And it was a great movie. It wasn't one of these like, oh, here we go, these stupid animated movies that do the same thing over and over again. This is really a good movie with a great cast. You had Meryl Streep, you had George Clooney. I mean, you had Willem Dafoe. He was like an assassin in Grand Budapest, but he was also like a raccoon or like a rat or something in Mr. Fox is like some kind of an assassin, or maybe a weasel or something. I think he was like a weasel or something like that. And he was, I mean, the cast was fantastic in this movie. as the voice. So obviously they're playing voices of animals, but I really like the Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I want to reiterate what everybody else said. And it's no slight to our friend Steve / Justin, but honorable mention was Life Aquatic. It just slipped out of my top Fast Five, but it really is a good film. I just didn't see it as much in the movie itself as Steve and others, and that's why I think a few of us had it on our honorable mentions or out of our top Fast Five. So,
Speaking
go
of
ahead, Steve.
proud moments, the Mr. Fox, it's all going normal, and then George Clooney and Mr. Fox has a meeting with his dirty Bill Murray, the Badger, and they start, what the cuss? Are you cussing at me? I'm cussing at you. And they start growling at each other. How hilarious was that the first time you see the movie?
That was a very good scene. They're all going at each other. That's like at the near the beginning of the movie, I think, right?
Yeah, or they just been speaking regular dialogue and acting like normal people, and then they
Yeah. All right. So now with that, drum roll, please. We get number one. I don't think anybody has to think very hard to find out what number one on Alicia and Scott's Fast Five is. It's Rushmore. I'm sure we got a few comments from my panel that would like to talk about Rushmore, and this time we're going to start with Kahal.
Yeah, well, Rushmore is my number one. Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, but I've seen it a few times, and just something about the Max Fisher character that just like, it's this guy who's like in every club, but he doesn't really like excel at anything really. He's just sort of more of he's just like a really enthusiast for everything, and the interesting dynamic with him and Bill Murray as well. And then the line, these are OR scrubs. Oh, are they? Gets me every time. Like, that's one of the best lines. Yeah. I also like the use of music as well, and it was the first time I really started to notice like who Wes Anderson was. Like, really start to appreciate his sort of style, and he would sort of further that in Royal Tenenbaums, which like that could be number one if you ask me next week, because it's been going up and like a bullet. Yeah, I just think it's one of those movies. It just has that sort of sharp edge to it. You know, any film that has like a stage play of Serpico in it, like, yeah, I'm on board. That always cracks me up every time. And the other play he did in the like public school, it's like a gangster kind of thing, like
Platoon
like,
he did.
on West Coast kind of thing. It makes me laugh. I'll go for it.
Yeah, he did Platoon, Kahal. Not to
yes.
interrupt you, I apologize. I don't like to interrupt people. But yeah, he did Platoon. That was like, what the heck is going on here?
He did look like Tom Cruise.
All right, one at a time. Steve, what'd you say?
The Al Pacino movie, what's the name of that? They did?
Yeah, mention that.
Yeah, Kahal, did you have something else you wanted to say?
I was just saying the likeness of Jason Schwartzman to Tom Cruise in that one shot near the end of the that Vietnam War movie that he made. And how he cast the Scottish guy as well, like he was sort of his rival as well. It's like, when are you going to put me in one of my plays, Max? Sort of.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, Steve, where does Rushmore fall in your Fast Five?
Number 3, it's a movie, like I said, it was my first blood many moons ago, and I didn't get it the first time I watched it, but now I love it more each time I watch it. It's got the most honesty and heart about it. I mean, I feel like I went through that. I feel like a lot of young boys go through that, where like one of your first infatuations in junior high or high school is the younger female teacher who's really nice to you and maybe treats you nicer than a lot of your peers do. I kind of connected with that. I thought that was very brave, and honest with Wes Anderson. I love the relationship between Max and Bill Murray's character. It's such an amazing relationship and mentorship. It's like Max is the son he's never had. He looks up to him. He's all the things that he kind of tells everybody else his dad is. He wants to be him when he grows up. And even though they have that rivalry, they keep that friendship relationship and just the way Bill Murray treats it, even the rivalry. It's not like he's mad at Max. He's just like treating him as his friend. He's like, okay, I'll play this game. I love that. And I've had the conversation with Dan before. It's kind of funny to think of this film as a prequel to the movie Saint Vincent.
Liam, what do you got to say about Rushmore?
Rushmore is actually my number 2 on my Fast Five. Yeah, it's an incredible film. Really, it's always between that and Royal Tenenbaums. I'd always flip around. So maybe, like what Kval said, next week will be Rushmore number 1. But just an amazing performance debut by Jason Schwartzman. I mean, how crazy is that for your first ever role? And that he was so great in it. And Bill Murray also playing an unexpected character, just playing a massive dick. But he was still likable in the role. And there are just so many great scenes in that, like the scenes where they're just destroying each other's stuff, like him breaking the bike and messing the car and stuff like that. And I know you guys have pretty much said a lot about it, so I'll just say, yeah, Rushmore's number 2 for me.
Can I just add something there? I know
Go
we
ahead.
talk about Bill Murray and Jason Schwartzman and that, but Olivia Williams was excellent in that movie. I just remembering like some of the scenes with her and Max. It's excellent.
Mark, what do you got to say about Rushmore? What does it lie on your Fast Five?
I put it at number 3. Again, I actually watched Rushmore after I watched Royal Tenenbaums, which again was my first blood. And I remember at the time, this is like early 2000s, maybe 2003 or 4, so obviously the movie had been out for some time. I remember not liking it at all. And then I think it was 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, I watched it again. And it's hilarious. I mean, Jason Schwartzman is he's so off the wall, and he's just, I don't know. When I first watched it, I thought he was really pretentious, which obviously he kind of is, but it sort of works because, as it's just mentioned, he sort of does everything. He puts on those plays that are just like, they're just hilarious. I mean, they're hysterical. Serpico and the Vietnam one and everything, and his relationship and his dealings and his chemistry with Bill Murray was just hysterical. And like, I don't know. It's certainly, again, one of the ones that I'm glad I went back and watched, because between Tenenbaums and between Rushmore, I kind of swore off Wes Anderson films for a very, very long time. So I don't know. I really love just going back, just watching it, just figuring out like, where was I maybe wrong last time? What actually was funny and was poignant, was really good, and Rushmore made it to number 3 just because I was really pleasantly surprised. I unfortunately forgot about the whole movie, so to go back with a clear mind and just watch it again, almost like it was for the first time, was a great experience.
Rachel, where does it lie in your Fast Five?
Her computer froze. She just sent a message.
Oh, wow. That's too bad.
Did she give her number 1? Wasn't it her number 1? I could be wrong. I don't want to speak for
The
her.
Royal Tenenbaums were number 1.
Yeah. She gave... Go ahead, Steve.
I think it was pretty high up there for her. She seemed to talk very highly about it every time she spoke of it.
Okay, yeah, we're sorry that Rachel's computer froze, so we lost her. But I will go, and I have Rushmore at number 3 as well, Mark. I'll tell you what, I don't recall seeing this movie when it came out, and I know for a fact, obviously, when I rewatched all of Wes Anderson's movies back in August, it resonated with me a hell of a lot, because it just was such an original kind of, I mean, Jason Schwartzman, I mean, what a find for Wes Anderson to find this kid out of 1,800 kids, and then the kid goes on to have a halfway decent movie career. I think a lot of us would take that movie career right about now. And Bill Murray, he really had, I don't know if you would call it last year they called, all the movies for Matthew McConaughey a McConaissance. But I'll tell you what, I think it's a renaissance for Bill Murray. I mean, this movie reinvigorates his career because, and Steve said, or Justin said a lot about the. He mentioned St. Vincent. Wow, so similar to St. Vincent, but so different. But they were both taking off a lot of the same themes. You know, kind of a neighbor or a friend or whoever, kind of somebody that could relate to the kid. And even though they were going at each other a lot, Bill Murray and Jason Schwartzman, Max Fisher, they kind of were the same person in a lot of ways, one younger and one older. And maybe that's what Max Fisher was going to turn out to be in the future. Who knows? But and Olivia Williams, Cahal said, oh, wow, I don't think I've seen her in a whole lot of movies since that. But that movie, she was really good in that as well. I really enjoyed Rushmore. That's why it's number 3 on my Fast Five. All right, well, I hate
on Rachel's, man. She just sent a message.
Okay, go ahead.
No, number 2, Rachel sent a message. It's number 2 on her Fast Five.
Okay, Rachel, we lost her, but she said Rushmore is number 2. I'm sure she had a lot of good things to say about Rushmore, but I'm sorry to say the show has ended, and I'm going to go down the list starting with Mark. Let us know where you can be found.
My name is Mark Tordai, MarkTordai. I'm on Twitter and on Facebook, so just at Mark Tordai. Mark Tordai on Facebook. I'm on Pinterest. Anything, just search me.
Liam.
Yeah, you can just find me on Facebook, Twitter, Liam Legrandy. I'm trying to do more reviews and stuff through maybe making a website or something. So, if that happens, I hope you guys can check it out.
Yeah, I try to support any of my friends from Profiles when they do reviews, and we won't troll you, Liam. We promise. Steve, where can you be found?
You can find me, Steve Zissou, on Profiles in Schmoville.
And Cahal.
You can find me at Cahal Thomas Coleman on Facebook. That's Cathal, and on Twitter too.
All right. You can find me, Dan Skip Al, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and the Best Damn Movie Show on Facebook, on YouTube, with my co-host Vinny Laspada, and my website From the Fourth Row at WordPress.com. And Rachel's not on here. You can find her under Rachel J. Cushing on, I believe, Twitter and Facebook. And Get Real with Rachel Facebook page. It is also her name of her website, where she writes very good reviews and very in-depth talk about movies. So if you really want to get some good articles and some good reviews, go to Get Real with Rachel on Facebook and her website. And so for the rest of my panelists, I bid you adieu for this evening, and hopefully we'll talk about John Williams next week. I know there's some people that like Star Wars, so maybe they'll join us. So,
Hey, see everybody at 3 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. Profiles Live. John Williams. 3 p.m. Pacific.
Let's see.
yes, Steve is
See y'all.
correct on that.
Hey, have a good night, everybody, or day, wherever you're at.
Guys, before you go, can I just ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What kind of bird are you?